Hi, I'm Bailey Vick, and I'm excited to share what I've done this semester. I've been an intern here for the last semester, and during my time here, I have been designing and implementing a Healthy Hands project, and I called it Clean Hands, Healthy Community. And it's just basically teaching the residents and the facility just more about hand hygiene and ways to keep the community and the facility cleaner. So for my objectives, I described, identified, and recognized. So basically, I just described to the residents why a hand hygiene program is necessary in an assisted living facility, and I identified ways to develop and implement an effective hand hygiene program, and just basically be able to put this into where they can keep this for years from now, so that they're always up to date on how to keep the community clean. And then just recognizing measurable outcomes and areas for improvement at the end of my presentation and at the end of my implementation as well. So why hand hygiene matters in an assisted living facility, there's 3 major factors that I found. First is it's a communal setting. So basically, just since all the residents do live together every single day, they're sharing a lot of areas. They share the activity room, communal room, this room, the dining room. So a lot of things that they are using, all of them are touching. So for example, like salt shakers at the tables, all of them are touching them, which is all of that in turn is sharing germs. So, and then which that in turn makes germs transfer easier than if you weren't living in a facility like this. And then decreased immunity. So basically, since this is an assisted living facility and memory care facility, the population is older individuals and residents. So with that being said, their immune systems are weaker, because as you age, your immune system gets weaker. So that is another reason why hand hygiene is so important, that they're making sure they stay up to date on that. And the last was just an increased risk from comorbidities, and this combination creates an increased outbreak risk. Assisted living facilities are especially vulnerable to gastrointestinal issues and outbreaks such as norovirus, flu, and COVID. Also respiratory infections and illnesses. And norovirus is something that we face this semester, so this project actually went really well with it, because I was able to help implement things and teach them why hand hygiene is important for that as well. So for the evidence and numbers, the CDC has noted that when you do keep your hands clean and healthy, there's a 30% reduction in diarrhea-related illnesses. And then they also state that if with washing hands and having good hand hygiene, there's a 20% reduction rate in respiratory infections like the cold and flu. And for the recommendation, the recommended washing time is 20 seconds, and which is the equivalent to singing happy birthday twice. And a statement by the CDC is that hand hygiene is the most important practice for reducing infection transmission in care settings. And they also have provided evidence that certain germs can live on surfaces for up to 2 hours or even more, even days in cases of norovirus. So for the project overview, I'm gonna pass out some things. It's a hand hygiene observation checklist, and then just my walkthrough. Mr. Grady, you can have one too. It's basically, I use these to assess stuff and just check off things that I was seeing around the facility. So I used a 4-phased approach. I did an assessment, I educated, I evaluated, and then I was able to recommend to the facility and the staff things that I saw or thought could be better. So for phase 1, I created a baseline. I observed the residents, what they were doing around the facility, if they were washing hands, things like that. I conducted surveys. I did a pre and post survey with them. And I also conducted an accessibility walkthrough, which was just seeing if the hand washing stations were accessible to them, if they were able to have hand sanitizer accessible to them at all heights, whether they were in wheelchairs or not. or on walkers and such. And right now you're looking at both of those checklists, and I also did the survey. It was on my iPad, so I can show you that after if you'd like. This survey was used pre and post curriculum. It was the first survey had questions on it, and then the second survey had those same questions, and then I added a few after I had done all of the activities and implementation with them in education. And then for phase 2, I did education and activities. So basically for this, I did a soap making activity, a black light activity, and other things that I will show you later on in this. And then for phase 3, I did a post-assessment, and that was I just asked the residents what they learned, what they were seeing, and did the survey with them again. And then I also went back through and did more observations of the facility. And then for phase 4, I provided recommendations for the staff and for the facility to make the most of like everything that you can with hand sanitizer, hand washing stations, things like that. And for my first objective, I just said that residents will be able to identify 3 key times when hand hygiene should be done. And this was measured by the pre and post session survey. And then for my second objective, I said that participants will show improved hand hygiene behavior when observed, measured by pre and post intervention checklists. So basically seeing if they did improve their hand hygiene after I'd done all these activities with them. So for the education part of this, I did a PowerPoint and a live hand washing demo. And for this, basically this was just a way to give them a visual aid as well as educating them at the same time. Because for me, I'm a visual learner, and I feel like a lot of people are like that. So with doing that, they were able to see exactly how it's done. And like, also it was cool because when we made the soap, we were able to use that as the demo. So that was cool to see. And the residents were able to see the data, hear the explanation, and then were able to correct the ways that they were washing their hands if they weren't doing them the right way. So this is an example. This was when I did it. I did my PowerPoint the day that we did the soap making. So we made the soap, and then I was able to show all the residents how to wash their hands. And I had one of the interns, Maddie, help me. She's an exercise science major, but she just showed basically everything. You wash between your fingers, under your nails, palms, both sides, and also with even turning off the sink, we taught them like you're not supposed to touch the sink handle and everything. So that was fun to do. Here is a piece of soap we made. It smells good. It smells like lemon. Anywho, so for this, I basically provided them with molds, flowers, scents, dyes, and also I gave them both a clear soap or an oatmeal soap so that they were able to choose the base that they wanted. And this was just fun because they were able to take it with them, and also like it was a reminder of both all of the interns, because they've always said how much they like love us, but also it's a reminder that they should be washing their hands, and it just reminds them the education piece of it. So here's some pictures of them making soap. Yeah, they really enjoyed it a lot. There was a good show out for this activity, so I was really happy with that because I did put a lot of time into planning it, so I was glad that they were able to come to that. And then I also made a Jeopardy game. I didn't use it because I used the PowerPoint, but I made it for the future. I'm gonna give it to the facility so that they can use it to help educate and implement more hand hygiene, especially when more and more residents will come in. So the goal is just to engage the residents and give them a fun education tool while they're still learning, and they also get to compete with each other a little bit. And so I do have a few Jeopardy questions for y'all to engage in. There's just 3. So I did when to wash for 200 points. You, Mr. Grady, I bet you'll know these. You should wash your hands every time you return from this room. What do you think it is?
I'm sorry.
Oh, you should wash your hands every time you return from this room. What room do you think it is?
The bathroom.
Oh yeah. Next is how to wash for 300 points. This is how long the CDC recommends you to scrub your hands. Anyone? What?
20 seconds.
Yeah, girl. And third is soap and hand sanitizer for 500 points. This alcohol-based product is most effective at killing germs when it contains at least 60% of its active ingredient.
She's skipping me. She's skipping me for this.
Hand sanitizer?
Yes, ma'am. So after that, I bet y'all are gonna remember because that was an interactive education tool as well as they're learning at the same time, so it's just fun for them. So for this part, this is the visual education. I use a black light demo, so I have it right here. It's a simulation germ, so you put it on the residents' hands. I would have them rub it in, and then they would shake my hand. And then after that, I'd be like, okay, wash your hands. And I timed how long they would wash them to see if they did do it for 20 seconds. All of them actually did pass. All of them washed them for a while. I was like, y'all got some good hand hygiene. But then after it, I would show them, I had a black light, and I would turn off the lights, and I would show my hand, all of the germs that did get onto my hand, and then showed their hand and to see if they did wash off all their germs, which was actually very impressive that most of them were able to, especially even the residents that have just arthritis and stuff. Some of them can't open their hands fully. They were still able to, and they really liked this activity. A lot of them were very shocked at the germs that did get onto my hands compared to theirs. So this was one of my besties. She was washing her hands. I was timing her, and then that's me showing her that her hands were clean actually after that. So, and then for the flyer, this was actually during norovirus. I'll give you one of these. We printed them off and gave them to all the residents. I was planning to make this flyer anyways, but then norovirus just gave me the opportunity to really be able to, I guess, implement washing your hands even more, because norovirus is spread through anything, through surfaces, anything. So with that, I was just able to make a flyer. My advisor had me make it, and I sent it to them, and they were able to send it to everybody. The person ahead of my advisor actually was saying that she really liked it and wanted it around the facility. So we laminated them, put them around. Basically, it was just why hand washing is so important, when to wash your hands, how to wash properly, and then this was just like a little infographic part on it of just the correct ways to wash your hands. And then I just put a reminder at the bottom, clean hands protect you and the people around you. Hand washing is a simple and effective way to help protect others from illnesses and is an essential part of our daily lives. So for the pre and post assessment results, this is from my surveys and also just from visualizing what people were doing around the facility. So for washing hands before meals, I observed that 5 out of 13 people were, and I wasn't able to get all the residents just because it's about 80 of them, so it's a lot, but also not all of them are able to be observed in that way. And then, but post-intervention, I saw that 9 out of 13 washed their hands, which was a 4% increase out of that, which was really good because I was happy that my interventions were working. And then washing hands before activities, I saw that only 4 out of 13 people did it. And then after, I saw that 8 out of 13 people had washed their hands, which was another 4% increase. And then on the surveys, I asked when to wash hands instead of using hand sanitizer when there is visible soil. And only 4 out of 16 people said that in the pre-survey, but then the post-survey, 9 out of 16 people thought that. So that was a 5% increase. And then 10 out of 16 people in the pre-survey did know that you were supposed to wash your hands for 20 seconds. And then after the survey, or after my intervention, 12 people thought that it was 20 seconds. Some of them said more, but that was a 2% increase. And then the last was, I asked them if they thought that hand sanitizer was as effective as hand washing if there was no visible soil present. And 3 out of 16 people said it the first time. And then 9 out of 16 people said it after my intervention, which was a 6% increase, which I was very happy with. So for the facilities, accessibility findings and recommendations, I was able to walk through and find that there is a lack of sinks and washing stations directly in the common areas, but part of this is because you can't really have like a sink in the middle of a room. But they do have a hallway bathroom that they can go to. All their bedrooms have bathrooms, obviously. And I did notice that there's a nurse's station in the dining room, and they do have hand sanitizer, just no sinks. And then I also noticed that there's no hand hygiene signs in the common areas or the dining room. And so I did notice that, and I took note of that. And then I also noticed that there is no hand sanitizer present in the activity spaces or the dining room. And I did recommend this to my advisor to get hand sanitizer and put it on every person's table. And she did let me know that that's against the CDC. Apparently, it can cause cross-contamination between hand sanitizer and the food, and that's against the CDC. So with that, I was able to note that and make recommendations from that. And then the last thing that I found is that the sink washing stations are just not very convenient when the residents are already seated at the table, because once again, there's no hand sanitizer on the tables, but also they can't, going back to their rooms is a lot if they live down at the end of the hall. So some recommendations I made, after all of the stuff that I did, I posted visual hand washing reminders near the sinks, in the bathrooms, in the common areas, in the dining room, and then I restocked and repositioned hand sanitizer. So I put some hand sanitizer at the entrance of the dining room and at wheelchair accessible height, so everybody was able to get it. And then I also just restocked the sanitizer dispensers in general, made sure that all of them were full, made sure that everybody was able to get to it. And last was that I ensured soap dispensers are checked and refilled on a regular schedule, which the janitors here do very well. I've noticed that they keep the soap restocked for all the time. And I was able to just implement educational reminders around the facility about hand washing, and we also purchased hand sanitizer for use in the facility and common areas. So what worked and what I would change? What I thought really worked was what I had put in, the activity. So the black light demonstration, I thought that showed them a lot about hand hygiene and that how much germs truly do spread just with the touch of a hand. And then the soap making activity, a lot of them learned the correct way to wash their hands, and that goes along with the interactive hand washing demo that they received. So I thought that all of those worked very well. And what I thought could be improved, just the time between the pre and post assessment, I could have given it a little bit more time and just brought it to them a little bit later. And then just involved more of the staff in the activities, just had them come into the blacklight demo, because I would go into the residents' room, so I could have brought the staff with me and shown them too. And I also could have had them come into the soap making activity and watch the PowerPoint as well. And then also I could have just given the residents something else to take home in addition to the soap, at like a reminder, like a little pamphlet or something, a reminder just to wash their hands along with the flyer. And thank you. I think that clean hands are one of the simplest and most powerful tools we have to protect our community. Do you have any questions?
Okay. Excellent. So what happens next after you're done, when you leave here on May 6th? What happens with this?
So with everything that I've done, they've obviously all have the soaps in their rooms, they're able to wash their hands with that. I also have posted around the facility the hand washing, why it is important, and just taught, I've been stressing it to them all semester, like you should be washing your hands before you eat, before you go to the bathroom, or after you go to the bathroom, before you come to activities, and just basically anytime you're touching other communal spaces, just make sure that they're doing that. And then I also made the Jeopardy game for future use so that they can re-implement that later on, so that it is a reminder for the residents.
Excellent. I really like the table you have with the pre and post, and you know what
Mhm.
Because that was
Thank you.
a conversation I had in the last presentation. They talked about rates going up, but I didn't see any data. There's no data to suggest that.
Mhm.
If you do an implementation, you always have to collect data before and after so you can see the change.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm glad if you have different categories where you could show
Thank you.
numbers, specifically how many numbers went up. So that was
Yeah. Thank you.
all right, well done.
Thank you.
Is that hand sanitizer?